What Code Red means to me is normalizing conversations around our peers.
Destigmatizing being a girl.
Empowering women.
Flashing lights. Emergency.
Comfort and safety.
Education.
Hi everyone, the following content is from one of our Instagram live sessions, which included a really intriguing and productive conversation with one of our hosts, Fatimata, on nutrition and how it relates with menstruation. Hope y'all enjoy.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
How
I'm
are
good.
you?
How are you?
I am good. I'm good.
Well, I'm outside. I'm in Miami actually. So if you hear like background, that's why.
Nice.
So,
That's cool.
but we can get started. Just introduce yourself.
Absolutely.
Say who you are and what you do.
Absolutely, yeah. So hi everyone. I see we only have like 3 people on live right now. But I'm gonna go ahead. My name is
I'll
Barakah
also save it.
Sahaya.
I'll save it also. So it'll be in our.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. That way I can share it too. Yeah, so my name is Barakah Sahaya. I am a full spectrum doula and fertility awareness method educator. I also have a basis in nutrition and public health nutrition as well. And I'm a model, an artist, and I like to integrate pretty much everything with women's health. That's pretty much my goal, is specifically maternal health, but women's health and creating that foundation with nutrition. Fertility awareness method is something I use quite often. It is a way that uses the 3 signalers, which is cervical fluid, cervical position, and basal temperature, to predict a woman's ovulation cycle. And so I train women on how to use that, not only in conjunction with nutrition, but I also teach them how to use it as a means for birth control, as a means to get pregnant, or as a way to just have overall body awareness. I definitely believe, especially for us women who have vaginas, that our entire health system is based off of how healthy our vaginas are and how healthy our cycles are. So there's so much you can tell about a woman by what she eats and like how her cycles are going.
Yeah, I'm always like so admired by you, because it's like you don't just do one thing. Like you have so many different things going on, and it's all so amazing to see. So shout out to you for that.
I appreciate you.
Yes. So we'll dive right into the first question. So my first question is, how does nutrition affect women's reproductive system function?
Right. So this is a question. These questions, I was like reading over your questions like 2 days ago, and I was like, these are such good questions. So there's a few answers to that. So the first is, one of the things I like to explain is that when you're thinking about health, right? And like I just said, specifically when you're talking about women's health, you can tell a lot about a woman's health by her nutrition and her cycles. Now, there are things that affect your nutrition and your cycles, obviously, right? Like food cravings, environmental factors, genetics. Some women just hormonally have more hormonal issues than other women do. And so when you're thinking about nutrition, it really is a one-size-fits-all situation where you really need to dive into, okay, what are all the other factors? Because certain things that I might tell someone to do nutritionally, I might not tell the next person, based off of, again, environmental factors as well as genetics. So specifically with nutrition, I tell women all the time, you really need to track like where your fertility is for at least a month or two, so that you can kind of gauge like where you are and what your actual cycles and your habits are with eating. That way you can know exactly how you are affected, because everyone is affected differently. Some women For instance, like caffeine. Caffeine is terrible on my body. It's highly inflammatory. I also have an autoimmune disorder. And so whenever I like caffeine, number one, it goes straight through me. And then number two, whenever I'm in a place like right now, I'm pregnant right now. And so I'm pregnant with my second. And so
Congratulations.
I know I didn't tell you last.
Just
Thank
shout out to
you.
Instagram for this.
Right.
Yes.
By the way, guys, no, but like, thank you, but it makes me sick. You know what I mean? Whenever I have caffeine now, and prior to pregnancy, it did make me sick, but I have a really high inflammatory response to caffeine because caffeine is already highly inflammatory. But thank you. But then other women, sometimes caffeine is super helpful when you're dealing with cramps. I don't deal with cramps on my period. But a lot of women do, right? That's a lot of people's reality. So, again, like really gauging and looking into what your internal system looks like and really researching like what your body feels like is something that's really important when you're thinking about how your nutrition is going to affect your cycle.
Okay, that's so true. Because it's like, I just realized as you were speaking how broad this question is. You know, and I feel like in a lot of cases, like we are so broad when we talk about like women's health and women's reproductive health. We do think that it's like one size fits all. But it was literally like just sitting here listening to you just now that I realized, you know what, like we are all so different. Like I thought every woman had cramps, honestly. So it's like, it's so interesting to hear that, you know, like it's not every woman that has cramps. So it's like you have to, like each woman kind of has to do what works best for her, you know? So yeah,
Right.
no, I just learned something new there. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the next question is, how does menstruation affect women's need and use of micronutrients? For example, like vitamins, like vitamins and minerals. How does menstruation affect that or their need for that?
Right. So what happens when a woman is menstruating is that she is literally essentially breaking down all of those vitamins and minerals inside of her body, and it's a two-part process. One of it is breaking down the egg, of course, the unfertilized egg that month, and then the other part of it is your vagina is a self-cleaning system. And part of how your vagina regulates that cleaning system is through your period. So a lot of women who have it, like who say, oh, I get dizzy or like I cramp or I have issues with paying attention or concentrating. A lot of that has to do with a lack of iron. And iron is what helps the blood like carry oxygen. And so when you're losing so much blood like every month, you do like lose iron, right? And so those things are affected. And like again, like iron, it binds to a lot of other different vitamins and minerals as well. And
Yeah, and
I think I answered the question,
yes,
right?
you did. And there's actually a question here about iron. Can you talk to us a little bit about like just anemia and just how women can go about like caring for themselves during during their periods when they are anemic?
Yes. So I'm also anemic. And so one of the things that I like to do is take supplements. I am a really heavy person on supplements. There is a brand called Floridix. I'm actually taking it right now because, as you guys probably know, like when you're pregnant, your iron goes down. But my iron is already always low because I'm anemic. So Floridix is actually a full body nutritional supplement, and it has natural irons. I always tell people having natural iron is a lot better than having like over the counter manufactured iron, just because it's easier for your body to process. and your body isn't just like, oh my God, all this iron. Instead, it's like it's coming inside of your body in a natural way. And so it's easier to break down. So definitely, I'd say iron supplement, a lot of green leafy vegetables. So we're talking about your kale, your spinach, your rutabaga, your those things. Those are really, really high in iron. The trick though is you always want to accompany your iron with vitamin C, because some people cannot break down iron without vitamin C. So you have people who are like they're like, I ate like 6 salads today, and like I'm still my iron still hasn't gone up. And it's like, okay, what are you eating it with? Because sometimes your body can't break it
True.
down. Um,
Okay.
and so that's really important as well, when you're looking to boost your iron. And I also suggest doing it not when you start your period, but before you start your period. Again, going back to tracking your fertility using the fertility awareness signals, cervical fluid, basal temperature, which is like when you first wake up, your waking temperature, and cervical fluid. Did I say that already? Cervical fluid, cervical position, and basal temperature. And so if you, when you use those three things and you start tracking your cycle, and you know, okay, I know like my period's gonna come. I know I'm about to start ovulating, and I know I'm not pregnant. So I know I need to like start working on this right now. That is a really good time to start taking those iron supplements, or your iron, and to start really boosting up your body with like green leafy vegetables and vitamin C, because that is really gonna like set the stage for when you actually are on your menstruation.
Okay. I think like listening to you, I realized that it's so important for women to just like get to know their bodies a bit more, because like from the first
Yes,
question I asked, like, you know, it showed me how like it's so important for us to like, every woman is different, you know, like it's not a one size fits all situation, like you said, you know, and it all goes back to like we have to like naturally know how to like how our body works, you know, and that's just something that we are not aware
right.
of. We are not taught. So it's kind of like it's so hard because like conversations like this, like learning about like anemia or like how best to care for yourself if you are anemic, like these are conversations that like we never really have. And it's, I think it all goes back to the whole thing of like women never really having the space to get to know their bodies and themselves. But it's definitely so important. And just listening to you, like I want to start this like today, like learning about just my body,
Yeah,
because it would help so much. It would help so much. But
definitely. And you're right. Like, I mean, you know, up until recently, a lot of medical institutions weren't teaching us about how our bodies are different, and like how we can look for signs on how to regulate and like nurture our bodies based on how they are different. And there is a lot of shame in even like exploring like how we're different, and like figuring out, you know, there was a time where, you know, tampons were something that was just like, oh my God, you use
yeah,
tampons?
it was taboo.
That's
It was like
like
taboo.
that's, yeah, exactly. And so I really think it's one of the things I really like telling people the most is like, regardless of like what information you get out. Hey Tiara. Oh, that's sweet. She joined. One of the things that's really important about going through with learning about anything, no matter what article you read or what research paper you've read on, or who you're listening to, even me, even if you're just listening to me, the most important thing is to research your own body, because your cycle is going to be different from the next person. When I'm on my cycle, I'm happy as hell. Like, I'm not one of the, like, I don't cramp. I don't have, like, after I had my son, I have a 6-year-old. After I had my son, my period, I've always had long periods, but my period went down from 12 days to 9 days after I had my son. And that's pretty much it. All I do is bleed. Other than that, like, I feel like I'm buzzed off something when I'm on my period. And that's like not a normal thing. Now, pregnant, that's a whole different story. But when everyone is different. And I've heard of women, like for instance, women who have PCOS, and like they literally can't leave their house. Like I have friends who say that they're on their period, they're sick for 4 days. And I'm like, you can't do anything? They're like, no, I have to lay in bed and like
Wow.
sleep, like because the pain is so bad. So, I mean, just really looking that up, and like to tie that in there, I don't know if you got the email, but like I have the moon journal. This is my moon journal. It's actually the first thing I've published. It follows a 28-day lunar cycle, which a lot of women.
Is there a link?
Your
Is there
lunar.
a link to it that I can?
Yeah.
You can send it to me after,
Yes.
and I'll share it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I will do that. I'm gonna send you the link after. But this journal is literally, this is what it's for. It's to help you track like these things that we're talking about: nutrition, moon phases, really diving into what makes your cycle unique. And it like I said, it follows a 28-day lunar cycle, because a lot of our bodies are, especially women's bodies, are very connected, and our cycles are very connected to the lunar cycle. I've had multiple clients who, after they've tracked their cycles and while tracking the moon, their cycles actually become a part of the moon cycle. And I'm also a testimony to that, because I bleed on new moons, and then I ovulate on full moons. So that's again, body awareness is everything. When you're thinking about anything, body aware, all you really need to know is like what's normal for you. And then you can like start adding in things like herbs and like vitamins and nutrition and things like that.
And I know like we were talking about your moon journal earlier, and just how like there are so many apps like apps on our phones where we can do this, but it's so much better to have a physical copy, because just like an app is technology. You can't rely on an app, so it's so good that you knew that there was a need for that, and you created that for women. So that's so good. So I want to talk about some myths now, some like period and nutrition myths, because I know like there's that whole thing of chocolate. If you eat chocolate, or if you eat like sugar, desserts, your cramps will go away. So what do you have to say about just the sugary dessert part of that?
So if it's not a natural sugar, sugar is highly inflammatory. And so when you have to break down a lot of, especially processed sugars while you're on your period, it can actually cause you to cramp more.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's probably why I cramp so much. That's probably
why.
Because girl, I be eating chocolate so much.
I mean, so look, what kind of chocolate do you eat though? Yeah. Because like cacao, on the other hand, right? Cacao, it's like not as inflammatory as coffee. Like coffee is really inflammatory, but coffee, like I said, it has also been known to help women when they're cramping, because it pushes so much out of you. So, I mean, cacao is different, but if we're talking about Hershey's chocolate, yeah, girl, like don't do that to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about hot water? Because some people, because like in my culture too, like they have this remedy. My mom has given me the remedy. I mean, it has not worked, but I just want to know what you have to say. It's basically hot water, and you put butter and salt, and then you drink it. Yeah. And I know like a lot of cultures, they believe that if you drink hot water, it will calm down the cramps. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I will say that I've read a few like Chinese studies about how like cold water is like really bad, because how does it go? Cold water isn't good for menstruation, because like whenever you're like drinking things or eating things that are cold, it takes longer for your body to take in those nutrients, like during the breakdown process. So I would imagine like during menstruation, because it is better to have, I mean, that's why you use things like they have things like heating pads.
True.
Because like having that warmth, it does like speed up blood flow
Okay.
and allow your body to like push things out. And
Okay.
so I think like warm, like soups and like hot tea are good. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the butter and the salt though.
It's not good.
So that's new.
It's not good.
She's like, I'm telling you, it's never worked.
It's not good and it doesn't work. And so, what about like food cravings, right? Because I know they say like when you're on your period, like, you know, you crave all these different types of foods. So is that actually like truth or is that a myth?
I don't know if it's, I mean, again, like what's normal to you might be normal to you. I don't really have cravings on my period, but I wouldn't say that it's a myth that women have cravings. You know, your cycle is very much so related to like when you're pregnant, you know? So, I mean, there's lots of different reasons why pregnant women they hormonally, why they crave things, as well as just like in a lot of other ways why they crave things. So, I wouldn't be surprised if women, do you crave stuff on your period?
Chocolate.
Really? What do you crave?
I crave sugar. I crave lots and lots of sugar. I crave cake, ice
and it's
cream.
only on your
It's
period.
Only then. I crave lots of sugar. I'm surprised I don't have diabetes yet. The amount of sugar I eat when I'm on my period is just wild. It's wild. It is wild. Like I literally
and you can't just eat like juice or anything.
I can,
or
it's
like
like
fruit.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I literally can.
You're like, do I want a Kit Kat or do I want a mango?
It's literally like putting sugar on top of sugar. I would take Oreos and put it in ice cream. Like,
well,
it's too bad.
That sounds
like,
so good.
You sound like the way you're describing yourself, like no cravings, you know, fruit, like a balanced diet. That's something I want because that sounds healthy.
Yeah.
That sounds so healthy. Like the amount of just toxic stuff I put in my body is so bad.
Oh,
so bad. We actually need to talk about that, like on different occasions.
Yeah,
so you can
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to because, like, seriously, like, again, I know I'm like beating this like so hard, but like seriously, just like really track your cycle like for 2 months and just really like write down this information about yourself, like research yourself in that same way, like pretend you're your own patient. You know, it really does like come down to that. You got to pretend like you're your own patient, like really write down like, oh, okay, like today is the 3rd day of my period and like I was craving this and this.
Okay.
And then after you've done that for 2 months, that 3rd month you can actually do it again and be like, oh, okay, so right before that I'm going to introduce this.
Okay.
Like I'm going to try the week before my period starts to juice all like every morning. Even if you just do it once a day, or even if you just like add one salad once a day. Like, because also there's something else which a lot of women have, especially in America, because processed food, everything, processed food, environment, stress. We have high rates of yeast. Now, yeast is not bad. Like your vagina, the environment in your vagina is made of yeast. The problem is yeast overgrowth. Like it's supposed to be there, but it's not supposed to overgrow. And one of the things that yeast eats is sugar. It loves sugar. So a lot of women who have high sugar diets, you can usually assume that they have an overgrowth of yeast. And so when you can bring, like the week prior to your period, if what you're doing is juicing and like cleansing, like especially during that time when you're already not craving sugar, like sweets, like you're saying, that's a really good time to reintroduce your palate to these things.
Okay. Wow.
There's a functional doctor here in Austin. His name is Dr. Ubri or Dr. Aubrey. I forget how you pronounce his name, but he has a functional medical practice here in Austin. And he had a really good YouTube video recently because he does like a whole focus on like functional medicine bases. It bases like all of your health off of your nutrition and your gut health, right? And so he had a really good video that he did with one of his nutritionists that worked for him, where they were talking about how the beginning of the entire digestive process, it starts in your mind,
Wow.
right? Because you have all your senses. And so you look at food, and then that's you already processing, okay, I'm about to eat this. And then you smell it. When you start, you have salivary glands, right? And when you start salivating, like there are chemicals inside of in your mouth and in your saliva that helps break down and starts. It has enzymes in it that help start the digestive process before it even goes down your throat. So those are things that like it plays into your menstruation and when you start having cravings as well. So training your body, like I said, like a week ahead of time, it'll really, really help you to like take away some of those cravings as well as like help you process things in your body.
That's so true. It is a mind and body thing. It definitely is a mind and body thing. Yeah, and I think
your mind is your body, right?
And I think like there's always
body.
so much disconnect because like we never actually sit down and realize that I can literally stop this and change this. You know, like I have like it's all up here. You know, we always think that like we're powerless, but we're not. You know, it is our body.
Yeah,
we can like control it. You know, but it's like we never really realize that.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So those were all of my questions. And I know you gave a lot of tips, a lot of really good tips. If you have any more to share, feel free to share them. And then that's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for like
I said, I'm gonna send you the link to what
for being our first live.
Yeah.
Like I really appreciate that. And this is such a beneficial conversation. Yeah, and I hope like people are able to benefit from it. And yes, please send me the link. I'll share it. I'll put it in our link tree, and then people can just go on there and access it. And I'll comment it under this video once I post it.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll send you the links to what I just referenced too.
Yes, the video.
Because I think that will really. Yeah, I think that video. Like I just watched it like 2 or 3 months ago, and I was like, wow, this is like. That's such an important piece because I think that, like what you were just saying, we disconnect like food, like and like all of those internal things, like we disconnect it from our brain, and so like really reintegrating like that is so important. So yeah, I'll send you both of them and share them. And thank you so much for having me. I love that I was able to be on first live. That's amazing.
You will definitely be coming back. So. Thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Have a fun trip. Have a fun trip.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
You.
Talk to you soon. Bye.